Hi.
Hello, and hello everybody out there in the world. How are we all doing today?
I love connecting to everybody in the world, don't you?
Yes, I do. I do. Welcome back, everyone, for another episode of Shockingly Delightful with the always delightful Michelle Barone and myself, Christa
Krista
Barone,
Barone.
of Wicked Wisdom Consulting. And Michelle is with Moksha Grace Coaching. She does
Yeah.
life coaching, and it's awesome and amazing.
Yeah. So,
So
how
today,
are you today?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
My parrot decided to just start screaming literally the second that we came up on screen. It's like he knows.
Yeah. Well,
So
I
I'm gonna send him vibes to stop.
I may have just sent a message to someone else in the house to go give them something. So, all's good. That sound will stop sooner or later.
Most people tell me they can't hear it, so
Yeah. I could hear it. And he has his own way of being, doesn't he? And his surroundings can either make him crazy or calm him down. And we're kind
is
of
he
talking.
crazy though? Or is he just being his true nature?
He's being his true nature. Yes, definitely, as we all are.
How
Uh,
interesting that we try to put him in a box like society tries to put us in boxes.
yes, very true. And also brings us to a bit of what our conversation is about today, which is enhancing your environment.
That was a weird segue, but okay, I'll roll with it.
Listen, some people may just call them rocks, and some people may decorate their homes with them. It just depends on who you are.
Okay, now I can unmute myself.
Ah, I
Uh,
see.
so, really, what we're talking about today, if you can't tell by the name of the episode, it's not just a rock, is we're going to talk a little bit about crystals today, which, if you read the description of the video or the live for today, you would get a sneak peek at the idea that we are both somewhat obsessed with crystals. Would you use that word?
I would say I'm very fond of them. I mean, I think obsessed is, I mean, yes, I'm obsessed, but I think a nicer way or a better way to say it is I'm just very fond, like very fond of them. I like them a lot, a lot, a lot. But I think all women do. I think men do too. As I can tell, you're being distracted by a certain man.
Um, that is an interesting choice of words. I would go ahead and just use the word obsessed. We both have very extensive collections of crystals. And there, what's your favorite thing? Like, why? What got you into collecting crystals originally?
That's a really, really great question. Literally when I was a kid, I used to pick up rocks. Like I thought
Oh
they
yeah.
were just the coolest thing in the world. And there were some that just kind of called to me. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, similar to the way that we go to the beach and we pick up shells, there's some that call to us. Um, and I
I have
think
a very funny story about that. I'll have to remember to share it. Go ahead.
shells, let me write this down, shells. Um, I think that when I started learning about the different properties and
Mm-hmm.
the meanings behind the crystals, and then experimenting and learning about them and experiencing that they really do have an energy signature, just like we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I always had an interest in crystal, but I didn't really start collecting until I had my own money to do so, and then all hell broke loose, and the collection went from one to like 1,000 very quickly. But it's funny you bring up collecting rocks as a kid because I remember being in 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
in my English class, I guess, not language arts, English class. And I don't remember what the assignment was, but something came up about that if I see something on the ground, whether it's a rock, a shell, a cool piece of a stone,
Mm-hmm.
anything, I'll collect it. And I'll never forget my teacher in front of everybody goes, "So you just have a collection of trash?" And I was like, "Well, no, it's not trash though. Like I don't just pick up garbage. Like it's like rocks, shells, whatever." And it was just one of those things that just instantly burned into my memory. But the other thing you mentioned that's really interesting too is that crystals have an energy resonance just like we do.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, people who are naysayers of crystals, it's typically like, oh, it's just a rock, hence the name of the episode. And I think that is an interesting way to get a feel for who is tuned into feeling energy and who's not. Because
Yeah.
for those who practice energy work, energy healing, even just are in tune with their intuition to a certain degree, it's very easy to feel the difference
Mm-hmm.
in something like a crystal versus just a rock that you picked up on the ground. Not to say that the rock doesn't also
Yeah.
have energy. I'll touch on that later. But it's, there's such an energy that comes with it. And if you are into crystals, then you probably have also seen those crystals that maybe you've seen it yourself. It happened with you or someone where all someone has to do is walk up to the area where a crystal is and it'll start vibrating.
Yeah. Those are
And that's an experience.
that's I remember doing that and being in a crystal shop and watching it happen. And all you were doing was standing there.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like a foot and a half away.
Yeah, it was the stand with all the pendulums, and they all
Yeah.
started moving.
And they were moving in different directions, so no one can say, oh well, it was the air
A breeze,
conditioning.
right?
Yeah, it was a breeze, it was an air conditioning, it was the circulation of the air inside of the no.
Yeah.
Some started moving in a circle, some were rocking back and forth,
Yeah.
and then there was this one, and it was just vibrating. And then sometimes, if you notice, it'll actually it'll almost like reach out to you. Like it's the weird if you haven't ever experienced it,
It sounds absolutely insane.
It does. It sounds like we are absolutely crazy, but when you watch it happen, when someone's really in tune and they walk up, you can see it move towards them, and it's like a puppy. It picks you.
Yeah, no, it really does. And it's very common for those that collect crystals that you'll hear them say, like if we walk into a metaphysical shop or anywhere that has crystals, we literally will not be able to leave without one or two, because and again, it sounds crazy, but they call to you in a way. You can hear them pulling you in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that I remember that when I first started getting into crystals years and years and years ago, when I was still probably a kid, it must have been, we had gone to like a metaphysical shop and I didn't get one of the crystals that was calling to me. And I remember I could not stop thinking about this stone. I don't even know how long. I almost want to say we went back and got it because I literally could not stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I think we did. And it's always interesting to me because it's like when you go to the grocery store and you have like a list, of what you're going to buy. And I remember we've tried that. Like, okay, this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm looking for. And I've gone in with a written list. All I'm going to focus on. And I will always come out with something I didn't expect. Maybe I won't even get a couple of the items that were on my list because there was something else that just spoke to me. And listen, people do that when they go in a furniture store and a couch speaks to them. This is not This is not.
Well, I think that's you, listening to your intuition. Maybe you went there with the intention to get those other ones, but then
Right.
that was just the purpose to get you to the store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who are we to question the motive?
Well, and so here's something I want to drop some knowledge on everybody, especially some of those that might be watching that are a little bit of like naysayers or unbelievers, like, oh, it's just crystals. Ladies, how many of you have a diamond on your finger? How many of you? How many of you had a man drop to one knee and, hand you this ring? And it was blessed in the church and it was given to you. And it is a sign of your engagement and your promise to each other. How many? Just roundabout, like, anyone who's engaged or together with someone. Did you know that a diamond, gemstone, crystal? Do you have any idea what the meaning is of a diamond? Because I looked it up.
I've read it many times, but I have a feeling, but you just read it, so I'll let you lay it on us.
Diamonds carry the energies of angelic beings that are aligned with courage and light and inspire us to bravely express our most sacred self. Now, isn't that something that you want to bring into your relationship, your partnership?
Well, with that being said, too, there's a lot of people who are shifting from the diamond ring to doing more gemstones even. My sister's first ring was an opal even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just so important for people to realize that it's not just about, oh, it's the crystal store. Like, I have a ruby on my hand. And you know what? Ruby's intense energy sharpens the mind. And it brings about heightened awareness and excellent concentration. It is the perfect crystal for me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bought with that in mind. It was really pretty and it looks like a little rose. But the point is that we question people or judge people, criticize, scrutinize.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what we don't know. So, how many people judge other people for their crystal affinity, but yet they have tons of diamond rings and rubies and other gemstones in their jewelry box, and there's no different except for where they bought them and how high of a price that was put on it because it came from a jeweler and not a crystal store, by the way.
I mean, there's certain ones that no matter where you buy them, they're expensive. But I will also give a nice shout out to one of our favorite crystal sellers, Soul Body Gems. If you are a fan or you're interested in getting into crystals or anything like that, they do live online auctions essentially. But they have the most incredible pieces. The prices are phenomenal. And they also are very big on making sure that everything is extremely genuine, and B, also finding out the actual, like they'll do lab reports for the different crystals. So it's not just a matter of selling stones, but you can see the passion with it. And the woman and her mom who runs Soul Body Gems, Cassia, and her mom are absolutely wonderful and lovely. So if you are looking to expand your collection, get into it, definitely check them out and give them a follow because they are amazing. That's where I really started to dive into crystals and really expand my collection was through them. So thank you to them.
Well, and Cassia is a PhD. And what's her PhD?
She's a biologist.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about like she gives you the information behind the crystals,
where it was sourced,
for.
Like, it's really like, it's actually just genuinely enjoyable to even just watch, even if you don't buy anything, because you really do get to learn a lot.
And she sings.
And she'll sing.
she is an opera singer too, so yeah. She'll do that too. But yeah,
I do want to. Oh, go ahead.
No, please.
I wanted to circle back to what you were saying about crystals having energy resonance, just like we do, because that is something that I could see being a hard pill to swallow for some people who are very much in the belief that like humans are the only ones that have the same level of thinking that we do, and how can an inanimate object possibly have the same energy resonance and all that. And what's really interesting is it's actually proven that everything that exists on the planet has energy and has consciousness. And there's actually a really incredible book called, what is it called? I can't remember right now. It's one of my absolute favorites. I'll look it up while you're talking at some point. But they outline a bunch of different scientific studies. And funnily enough, it's actually the book and the information that actually shifted me from being vegan back to eating just consciously and intuitively, because everything that exists on this planet, whether we consider it inanimate or not, an inanimate object, has consciousness to it. And so they've actually done studies where they'll, with a plant, for example,
right?
I think it was a piece of celery or an egg, it was something like that, and they put one half of it, or they put it in a box covered like a soundproof box, and they started thinking about how they were going to eat whatever it was that was in this box, and its energy actually changed, showing that it knew something was about to happen, and that I'm totally butchering it. It's so much deeper than that, but it just goes to show you that every single thing has energy consciousness. Including something like a crystal, and even more something like a crystal. And I don't know the scientific facts on it specifically, but I guarantee that there have been studies done that show the changing in frequencies around crystals. And another perfect example is, so there's a stone called obsidian, and it's an all black crystal. It's very beautiful, but I actually don't carry it often. I have some pieces, but I don't carry it often. I don't use it often, because this is actually a stone that it gets overwhelmed, and it's meant to, take negative energy from you and protect you, but it gets overwhelmed and it can literally explode. Just spontaneous explosion. How do you explain that away in science? Science or strategically? You really can't. Or the time that I was walking through a bookstore and the necklace I had around my neck just spontaneously broke open.
Yeah.
How do you explain those sorts of things? Didn't get caught on anything. I just got, the string wasn't messed up. The septarian that exploded in our hand at the antique show.
Literally.
Yeah.
I grabbed it. This is a very thick piece of septarian, and I just grabbed it, and it just.
I'm gonna even refine that, because grab feels like such an aggressive word. You picked it up.
Yeah, and it was like it. Not only did it like break, it almost like jumped out of my hand.
I was gonna say, it's like the other half of it shot across.
Yeah,
you were in. Like it literally exploded.
Yeah. And yes, we did buy it. I was planning on buying it anyway, but yes, when something like that happens, you tend to you have to buy it.
Now, what's interesting too is it luckily has not rebroken on you, but for me, anytime I touch what's called golden healer, that explodes for me. I just stop buying them and touching them. They're sitting on my shelf. I try to touch them as little as possible, because those are ones for me that if I touch it, almost instantly breaks.
Well, that's for me, lapis lazuli. I can't wear
lapis
lapis lazuli. I can't keep a bracelet on.
You can wear it for a while though. It just, after some time, breaks.
Yes, like I can wear it for a few hours and then I need to take it off, because if I keep it on, because it's so pretty and it's my favorite color, and so
if you don't know what it is, it's this beautiful blue that has some like colored flakes in it, colored marks in it.
It's really pretty.
It is really beautiful.
But yeah, the and so what they say, for those that don't know, that we've learned the hard way, is that when a crystal or a crystal bracelet, necklace, whatever it is, when it does break, yes, it can be that it was overstimulated, or it could also mean that you're supposed to share it. Like there's something about it that you're supposed to give a piece
Yeah.
to someone, and
Or you're done with it.
or you're done with it. You don't need it anymore. That's another one. Remember my hematite ring? I literally, it cracked and
Mm.
actually caused me to bleed my own blood. But I mean, it broke and it cut me. But
Mhm.
yeah, just you gotta be mindful and you gotta be careful. And hence you have to take care of them like you would take care of a plant or a human being. You
Mhm.
have to make sure that they're nurtured, which means that you have to cleanse them. And one of my favorite ways to cleanse the crystals is in the moonlight. Of course, when you have so many, you can't always take your
Yeah,
whole.
I have not been able to cleanse crystals on the moonlight for years now.
Yeah, if
It's physically impossible.
it's one I wear all the time, then I can take that and put it outside. You know, I wouldn't necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily put your diamond rings and rubies outside unless you put them in something that's kind of covered and is protected. Uh, but yeah, and it's hard sometimes to move like your entire room outside to cleanse your crystal. But there's other ways. There's selenite. You can have selenite around, and it will cleanse the crystals. So selenite's also a good way. How do you cleanse your crystals?
So I do. It's actually funny. I also have selenite on my desk. I usually keep selenite everywhere. Actually, my brother and sister in law went to a gem show a few years ago and got me this giant vase bowl that's lined with selenite, and then it was also full to the brim. I mean, we're talking like a big tub basically of chunks of selenite. So I'll put selenite. I'll kind of put it a little pieces everywhere.
Yeah.
I'll include them in my grid so that way the grids like continually cleanse themselves to a certain degree. I'm also Raymond said smoke. I'll do smoke occasionally. I actually despise and get very nauseous from sage, so I'll opt for like a sweetgrass or a smudge of my own creation. But I also love a good holy water spritz. Do a little spritz on myself, on my third eye, my heart chakra, call it a day. Just, you know.
Black water.
I don't use black water as much anymore, but black water is an option. Usually black water is pretty cool for anyone that's not familiar with black water. Usually everyone, from what I've read and learned, is everyone has their own kind of recipe for black water.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, my black water has now turned into purple water, actually,
Mm-hmm.
because of the different whatever the gal mixed into it when I bought it. It is now purple water.
Interesting. I haven't used black water in a long time, and I miss it because I do like it. And you can make your own out of your smudges, um, and
Well, ashes. I don't know if it's so much as
ashes.
smudges.
Well, ashes from the smudges.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you
Yeah,
think?
right. Or like incense that you burn. I actually have a whole jar. It's so funny. I have a jar of just ash from smudges, incense. It's just a jar. So if I ever need ashes, I have them.
Yeah, yeah. So Raymond, what's your go-to crystal?
Well, he can't wear hematite because it explodes. I feel you. I
Yeah,
feel
we,
you.
we absolutely feel you on that one.
You know
Uh,
what's interesting too about sometimes I wear a lot of, I think I've mentioned this before, but I wear a lot of crystal pendants because it's the easiest way for me to have it, on my person. And I'll find that I'm not wearing one today, actually, funnily enough. But I'll find that I could be wearing the necklace. Actually, it just happened to me yesterday. I had been wearing the same pendant for 2.5, 3 weeks. And yesterday, out of nowhere, it just was so heavy I had to take it off.
yeah.
I put on a different one, wore it for a couple minutes. Oh, it's too heavy. Had to take it off. These are light. I mean, they're very light pendants. It's not like
Mhm.
they're heavy, stones. So that's also a way to know. That's at least for me. If it's time to take one off, it's time to switch. It's time to try something different. Take a couple days without wearing anything, but usually it's very easy. It's a very profound shift in how heavy the necklace is.
And you know what's interesting about that is it's a really good way to teach yourself to tune in to
Yep.
your own feelings and your own energy. Because if
Yep.
you feel that you're clawing at your neck to take something off, which is something that I do when I have my Moldavite. When my Moldavite, when it says it is time to come off,
Mhm.
like it tells me in like now. Like
Yeah.
there's no warning either. It's not like a we're getting to a time where you should probably take
Right, right. It's like you need to take this off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been in the shower before and it's like I got to take it off now. It almost feels like it's choking me, and
Mhm.
it's not. It's on a long chain, but Moldavite is one of those. I'm very drawn to it, but I'm drawn to it very specific times.
Moldavite is an interesting one to bring up. We're going to get back to that, but Raymond said he wears
Fulgurite?
fulgurite. I've never heard of that, but I did just look it up, and it looks beautiful. And angelite and moonstone. I love moonstone too. Angelite, I have a piece or two. Very, very, I love it too. But moonstone has a special place in my heart. Now, are you talking about moonstone, rainbow moonstone, black moonstone?
Dalmatian
Um,
moonstone.
that's rainbow moonstone,
Oh, it is.
which ironically, rainbow moonstone is actually not even moonstone. It is a labradorite variety,
Ooh,
but it got the name rainbow moonstone. And thanks to Soul Body Gems for doing the lab work on that. That helped us figure that out.
very interesting. Very interesting. Well, I have been wearing my lapidolite.
Lepidolite, lepidol. Oh,
And it is like it just calms me. It sits right
lepidolite.
over my heart and it is just the most calming stone. Very different from my Moldavite.
Yeah,
Uh,
a little bit. So, for those who don't know about Moldavite, Moldavite is kind of like the goddess Kali in the sense I would maybe call it the great disruptor. The entire point of Moldavite is really to progress you on the path you should be on. And so, if you are not on that path or you need a redirection, it is going to give you that redirection. But Moldavite is very much not a stone to take lightly. It the first time I ever held a piece of Moldavite, it actually made me a little dizzy at first, which was interesting, which is actually very common.
Mhm.
But you do have to be careful with Moldavite. Like whenever I wear mine, I have a very specific intention that I say when I put mine on because it can stir some stuff up.
I know that I used to have a piece in here and I don't know where it is. And what's interesting is that the minute I'll kind of put out there that I need to find it, it will appear.
Of
But
course.
at the moment, it is not here.
Another really pretty one, and actually, I'm gonna promo our own store right now.
Howdy,
So,
Pat.
this is a beautiful piece of barasite, which actually, if you go on Etsy, Trop a Country Acre on Etsy, you'll find we have a bunch of these for sale. They are just absolutely magnificent. And actually, when we bought these, we bought a very big lot of them, and there were I sneakily took about 4 or 5 of them because they are just so incredible and they have these beautiful little nook and crannies of like a really beautiful, clear, crystallized, almost geode type of areas that are just, I mean, doesn't get more beautiful than that.
Yeah, yeah. Sneakily. You sneakily took them.
Sneakily, is that not a word?
I,
It's
I
a
think
word.
I think that if they chose you, then they chose you, and that's just that.
When you get to the level of collecting crystals that I have, the line is blurred at this point of is it calling me or am I just wanting it that much? So sometimes you can't tell.
Here's the one that came with a warning, and crystals do come with warnings, which is what I love, right? And what we know what this is
Like your site?
mahogany. No, it's the one that you're supposed to only have coffee
Oh
with,
yeah,
put
mahogany. Yeah,
away,
mahogany jasper.
maybe. uh yeah, and I remember the warning, and it is you literally have coffee with it, have it sit, and then like leave it where you have coffee. Don't bring it with you everywhere,
And
uh,
why is that?
because it can increase your ego, which in in a way when you need it, like if you're going to go on a speaking engagement or something.
Hi, Kat.
Have fun, Pat. When you need that boost of confidence, or that feeling powerful, then yes, that's awesome. But you should be careful with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's another, it's funny, I first heard about them and learned about them on the Soul Body Gems auctions, but there's a family of crystals called Euphorolite. Here's one, but there's a bunch of different varieties, and it's sort of a running joke where if you get your first piece of Euphorolite, you are going to have to buy as many as you possibly can. Like, it's not even a question. There's been people who literally like, I'm just going to buy one. It's going to be fine. And then you see them back every single month, every single week going, okay, wait, I got to get another one. You were right. I'm now addicted. I have to get another one. And they're pretty powerful too. They're probably up there with Moldavite with their power. Not quite as influential, but powerful.
And it's interesting because you got me like a little starter collection of Euphorolite, and I have them sitting there, and I don't get drawn to them much. There's like one or two of them, the sparkly one, of course, that I'm drawn to, and I don't remember which one it is.
I wonder if it's because I've gotten them for you and you haven't bought them yourself.
Maybe.
Oh man, I just thought of my red dragon ones that I have. I'm gonna have to go get it after this live.
But I remember you saying, yeah, I remember the box when it came, and you're like, you took it. I was like, what is it? Euphorolite. What's that one? Euphorolite. What's this one? But they were all different.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I got such a kick out of it because, you unwrapping it, it was like Christmas morning. Euphorolite.
Those were good times.
So I think, bringing the conversation back to, definitely crystals, but I just want to mention, especially because I read something yesterday on Facebook and it just pissed me off, frankly, that a store in Kentucky is catching shit because they're selling crystals. And I'm going to go back to, don't judge people because you don't understand something, and don't judge people because you think differently.
Well, let's give a little more context to that story because you kept it really general, and that's not really giving people enough context. From what you were relaying about the story was a metaphysical shop in Kentucky, which a metaphysical shop, if anyone's not familiar, is typically a place where they sell crystals, things like sage, sweetgrass, Palo Santo, different spiritual texts, holy water, black water, protection, crosses, crosses in different spiritual.
And they're very inclusive.
Very inclusive. They have a little bit of everything.
Right.
And our understanding of the situation is there are some people in the neighborhood that are trying to get it shut down because they are calling the shop witchcraft, which, yes, then back to your point, just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's witchcraft. I mean, this isn't the 1700s where we're burning people on stakes for being witches.
Let's hope not. Let's hope it never goes back to that.
I mean, that's basically you're ruining. You're attempting to ruin a small business's reputation.
Exactly.
Because of not understanding and wanting to force your beliefs on somebody else, which is
absolutely ridiculous. And if you don't like it, keep walking. Just
not harming you.
I mean, just if something resonates with you that we're talking about, then great, take it with you. And if it doesn't, then that's okay too. You can either off or click off, go somewhere
tune in next week instead.
Yeah, tune in next week. But it's, or just learn something new. Learn something new. There and your aunt, right? A school teacher, and I know several school teachers that have put together specific little like a little bag, a sweet little bag, like a gift bag almost, of calming crystals for children in their class that may have autism or anxiety, something like that, or has put a crystal and just said, hey, here, hold this. not because anyone's being witchy, but there is an energy, again, going back to what we first talked about. There's a frequency that comes from it, just like with certain music, there's a frequency, a tone that is calming. And these students have actually responded and been able to either, release some of their anxiety, you know, let go of some of their fear. They've been able to change their mood, focus more. And it's not just stones, it can be aromatherapy. These things are all natural. And I'm going to throw it back to those that could be tuning in or might tune in that, are maybe religious or, on that side of the street, so to speak, and say, if God created everything, that includes crystals and aromas that are from natural things. And so when you are questioning on if everything is truly connected, then who are you or what are you really questioning? And
it goes for meditation. I've heard of many people who consider meditation to be witchcraft or devil worshiping, which to each his own. If you don't want to do it, fine. But don't call everyone else Satan worshipers because we're meditating. Because I promise you, we're probably way more in tune with God than you think, or even you might be yourself.
Yeah.
And let's say with crystals, let's say it is just a rock and it's placebo effect. Who cares?
Yeah.
Great.
Who's a hurt?
I'm glad it's having a positive effect. Who cares? But don't try to make someone's interest and hobby seem less important because you don't understand it.
It only hurts if I pick it up and throw it at somebody. And if I'm holding a crystal for the right reason and it's a calming crystal, then that's not going to happen.
Okay, bumper sticker Betty.
That was funny.
You gonna mention the bitch be gone spray that's also in that meme?
Oh my God.
And on that note, I think it's probably a good place to wrap up today.
Yes.
We're hitting 40 minutes. Thank you all, as always, for joining us.
Absolutely.
Like we said in the beginning, my name is Christa with Wicked Wisdom Consulting. I help small businesses, entrepreneurs, coaches, businesses take some of the operational burden off their plate so they can get back to focusing on the parts of business that they actually enjoy. And Rochelle,
I have Moksha Grace Coaching, and I coach those people that want to liberate themselves from their emotions controlling their life, and instead they control their emotions, and they have better careers and they have better relationships, not just with other people, but most importantly with themselves, because we bring ourselves everywhere we go.
I'm glad that was as funny as I thought that it was myself. And also shout out to our friend Betty. She's a phenomenal hairdresser in South Florida. So if you need your hair done and you're in the South Florida area, let me know and I'll hook you up with our girl Betty. Her let's say her office.
Her salon.
Her salon. Wow. Whew. Her salon is like this Plantation Sunrise area.
Plantation Sunrise.
So if you're in that area, I'll hook you up with her.
And most people that know me, and one is Raymond because we're in a learning group together. Yes, I do speak fluent bumper sticker. So yeah.
You know what? I'm going to start, because we have a topic about this in a few weeks. I'm going to start writing them down so that way I can just run through them with you on the live and we'll just tackle them one at a time.
Oh, that'll be fun.
That'll be so much fun.
Is that going to be like a pick on Michelle Day or just pick on my bumper sticker?
I think we're going to focus it more on picking on the bumper sticker part versus you.
Listen, there's a lot of really good content on bumper stickers, and it's very concise and to the point. That is what I'm going to say about that. And I'm also going to remind everyone that tomorrow is Moment of Presence, and I have a very special guest tomorrow, Seth, and he will be coming on, and we are going to be talking about inclusion and what happens when we are so focused on the differences versus focusing on how we're all the same. and how that can change the world. So it's going to be a really, really good conversation. He is amazing and just such a beautiful, peaceful presence to be around.
And on that note, we'll see you next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.